Rats.
Sit under the rubbish. Go round where that blue bin is, and there's a rat.
Cockroaches.
That's actually in the door lock in the frame. They are firmly settled in there.
Bedbugs. The stuff of nightmares.
Oh, God.
All this black stuff is... That's bedbug droppings, and there's a nice big adult there. These will turn up in the poshest hotel and the poshest houses.
And the pest controllers on the front line trying to stop them invading our homes.
Happy days, here goes cockroach again.
But as budget cuts bite and councils cut back on pest control...
Do you still fear that your job is at risk?
Of course, yeah. But there's still going to be plenty of pests out there.
We go undercover to test how easy it is to become a pest controller and get hold of dangerous chemicals.
Whoever sells this, where we've just been, do not understand the consequences of what this can do.
We meet the pests fighting back.
The lowest point was when I found a family of rats living in the poison bag, living there quite happily.
And we ask, are we in danger of losing the war?
We've got the world's most resistant rat in this part of the world, and increasingly that resistance is spreading.
No one knows how many rats there are in the UK. It could be anything from 6 to 20 million. It's often said that we're never more than 10 feet away from one. For this man, Peter Roy, that's probably true.
What counts as a rat infestation?
As you'll notice down on the floor, you're getting a lot of these down here, which are rat droppings and that.
Oh, these
yeah, yeah, that's dropping. As you can see, they're quite fresh as well because they're still squishy.
Peter is a pest controller with Southwark Council in South London. Today, he has rats in his sights.
When I opened the bin chamber last week, about 10, 15 rats come running out at me. So, yeah, you might see a couple.
Out of there?
Yeah, out of the bin chamber. Yeah.
No sign of any rats so far. Just a corpse.
They normally completely decompose in about 5 days. Obviously, when the rat has eaten the poison, its body then becomes poisonous. So you couldn't really just go and chuck it in a normal bin or anything like that.
So you're going to take that back with you now?
That'll go back in my van, yeah.
I'll get a cab, I think.
Yeah. I've got a lovely van, I have.
But it isn't long before a live rat makes a break for freedom.
Sit under the rubbish. Go round where that blue bin is, and there's a rat.
It didn't hang around. So, to get a better look, we set up our cameras and waited. It wasn't long before we saw that this block of flats has a serious problem. Rats don't like the daylight, but here there were so many of them. They were happily out searching for food. It's driving the residents to despair.
Saw them come out the drain. I thought, Christ, it's kittens. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. Because to me, they're dirty things. And they multiply so quickly.
Is it embarrassing? It is embarrassing, but as long as you don't see them, you're safe. I would say once you see them coming, it's like invasion. It's absolutely vile.
Peter is going to try to kill the rats using poison. Left unchecked, they can cause real harm, including, in extreme cases, liver and kidney infections.
We're talking about illnesses like, with rat infestations, Weil's disease, which is leptospirosis, a particularly nasty illness. We're looking at the transfer of disease through rats coming up through sewers and into people's houses.
And it's a broken drain that'll need to be repaired that's allowed the rats to come up from the sewers here in Southwark. In the meantime, Peter will continue to put poison down. Last year, council pest controllers in the UK made nearly 300,000 rat-related visits to people's homes, according to the British Pest Control Association. While that helped manage their impact on us, no one really knows what it's doing to the overall rat population. Councils deal with all sorts of other pests, and no one is immune. In Stevenage, Council Pest Controller Chris Woodard is getting reacquainted with an old friend. The bedbug.
You do not want these feeding on you at night.
All but eradicated from British homes after the Second World War, now they're back. Thanks in part to our love of foreign travel and the fact that these bugs are so easily spread.
All this will have to be washed, will it? It will have to be washed, yeah. Oh, God. And all this black stuff is... That's bedbug droppings, and there's a nice big adult there.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
This bit's all moving over here.
Bedbugs like nothing better than waiting until you fall asleep and then feasting on your blood.
And this is no relationship to dirt or
it's
hygiene.
It's nothing to do with that at all. These will turn up in the poshest hotel and the poshest houses. The same as all these pests we've spoken about, rats, mice, cockroaches.
Back in Southwark, Peter's turning his attention to another pest.
Seeing cockroaches in this one?
Yeah, we've had some reports of cockroaches on this one.
Southwark looks after more council properties than any other borough in the capital. Council pest controllers made almost 20,000 cockroach-related visits to people's homes in the UK last year. This flat has such a bad pest problem that the person who lives here has had to move out.
Lock on the doors.
Oh my God.
They're all coming out to say hello now.
So there's one there, one there, one there.
Yeah.
This one is just saying hello.
And when you consider one egg can have up to 38 cockroaches in it, it can be out of control very fast.
Southwark's 24 pest controllers make up the biggest council team in the country. Last year, they made 60,000 visits.
That's it. Got a few problems out here as well. These are more bed bugs down here. You can see they're live and come active.
Council tenants here in Southwark get the service free. Peter's been dealing with outbreaks like these for 6 years.
How do you keep positive when this is your daily routine?
Well, I know I can get rid of them and I know I can make it better, so it's one of them. It won't stay like this for long once I'm finished with it. So,
did you get that sense of satisfaction then?
Yeah, definitely. It's something I've always enjoyed in my working life anyways. Like, if you can make someone happy in your day's work, you've done good no matter what you get paid, you know, so... Happy days. Here goes cockroach again.
I think they're attracted to you.
Yeah, they love me.
For several years, councils have been reducing their pest control teams in order to save money. For now, Southwark is continuing to fund its pest control service. But since the government's austerity drive, the rate at which they've been cut by councils has increased. To keep theirs, some have felt forced to introduce charges. Like here in Stevenage, where they brought in a £47 fee last year.
When the council here introduced charges, what impact did that have on the calls you were getting?
It dropped by about 50% on the public health stuff, yeah.
Why do you reckon it is?
I think the people just thought, oh, we'll try and deal with that ourselves, and we'll go out and buy some poison for a few pounds and try to deal with it themselves. You've seen rats up here then, Les?
Yeah, we've had them I've noticed them for about 2 to 3 months.
Today, Chris has come to help Les Benford. He's fighting a rat problem, and at the moment, he's losing.
What have you done to try and control them here? Have you put poison down or anything?
I haven't touched any poison. I've virtually just filled the holes in with bricks and stones, hoping that it would deter them, but it hasn't actually worked.
Faced with having to pay, many people try to get rid of pests themselves. But as Les found out, it's not as easy as you might think. And using poisons can be dangerous.
Most people I see put it down in a totally inappropriate way, poisoning other wildlife and doing perhaps themselves some harm.
The £47 charge here in Stevenage gets you as many visits as you need, and call-outs have started to pick up this year. But Chris is not taking his job for granted. The council has also cut his team from 4 to 2.
Do you still fear that your job is at risk?
Of course, yeah. Who wouldn't in this day and age? With the way the public sector and indeed private sector jobs have been lost. Of course it's at risk. But there's still going to be plenty of pests out there.
Cutbacks like those in Stevenage are worrying environmental health experts.
Resources to actually deal with the problem around the country are diminishing. And so I believe that the problem will get worse. populations will increase, damage and the potential loss of well-being will be increased as well.
And some councils are going much further than just charging for a service which had once been free. They're disbanding their pest control teams altogether. In the last 2 years, 29 councils have completely shut down their service. St Austell in Cornwall. The council here got rid of its pest control service last year, as one family found out to its cost.
When did you realise then that you had a rat problem rather than just the odd rat here and there?
Well, when I saw 3 or 4 of them scurrying around on the patio, I thought, actually, this is getting a bit silly, and it started to smell out here of rat pee.
5-year-old Miriam and her 3-year-old brother Moses love playing in the garden. Their mum Cheryl is not so keen, because for the last 18 months they've had rats.
We have to risk assess our garden every time before we let the children out, to make sure there's no dead rats in the traps, or it doesn't smell of rat pee. I wipe off the table, I wipe down their slide with spray disinfectant, because I don't know where the rat's been. Have they been on my table? I don't know.
No longer able to call on the council, they considered hiring a private firm.
We were quoted £100 just to come and look at the ground and see what they wanted to do. And then for each time they come back, it would be more money. On the money that my husband and myself both bring in, because we're both registered disabled, we don't have that much money to start with. We live hand to mouth.
Because they couldn't afford the private company, they bought traps and managed to kill a few rats themselves, but that's not got rid of them. Councils have to keep their own land free of rats and mice, and in extreme circumstances, they can force you to do the same, but they aren't legally obliged to provide a pest control service.
If you can afford it, go through a professional.
And those who can't? You know, you say those who can afford it go through a professional. Yep. Those who can't, where do they go?
Those who can't, it's that grey area again, I'm afraid, that the cuts affect somebody. I would still expect my staff to give advice. I don't like it, and I wouldn't expect the public to like it, but I can only deliver what I can afford.
So for those who can afford to shop around, there are 47 private firms in Cornwall and hundreds across Britain. Neil Parker works for one of them.
Hello there, it's Clean Kill.
Business is good for his London-based firm, up 9% on last year.
There's some females in amongst all that, not?
This job is part of a new contract with a housing association. Neil believes the tenant may have been living like this for quite some time.
Like there's a harbourage here containing a concentration of German cockroaches. That's actually in the door lock, in the frame. And if you can see them, they are firmly settled in there.
Cockroaches can contaminate food and may even trigger allergies and asthma attacks.
This is the gentleman's bedroom. You see the markings on the mattress. That's fecal deposits. There's a bed bug. So not only has he got a German cockroach infestation, he's got bed bugs as well. He's literally living with these insects. So when he's sleeping, they're feeding, and when he's awake, they're sleeping. And it's sort of like a relationship. It's a vicious circle in the end.
While some firms can compete with councils on cost, others can't. One leading private contractor is confident companies can pick up some of the slack created by council cutbacks.
There's nothing sacred about a council pest control team. We've had erosion of pest control services for quite a number of years now, and the sky's not fallen in. There hasn't been a sudden collapse in confidence or a sudden outbreak of pest in any of the locations that have had private contractors. There's no evidence to suggest that using a private contractor is going to be in any way inferior.
Even so, their services may still be out of reach for some of the most vulnerable.
Local authorities are the safety net for society, and many people who can't afford pest control need to find some sort of support. They're often the ones who have the worst pest problems near and in where they live.
There were 57 complaints about pest control companies in the last 3 months alone, and experts worry that some people are being driven to the cheapest end of the market. To cowboys. Like me. You don't need any qualifications or a licence to become a pest controller. So I set up shop in an area that's done away with its council-run pest control teams. Some phone numbers in a newsagent's window, and a couple of ads in local papers, and I'm almost set to go. Within a week, the phone was ringing. Unsuspecting customers expecting a cheap but effective service. Luckily for them, I passed their calls onto a pest controller qualified to deal with their problems. But within a matter of days, I proved just how easy it is to set up in the pest control business.
There's very low barriers to entry into public health pest control. My concern is that those people that are untrained, unlicensed, unregulated, uninsured are going into people's houses and could potentially cause some serious problems around health issues, up to and including something that could be lethal.
I've got the van, I know I can get the customers. Now I'm going in search of the chemicals that pest controllers use. Some of them are incredibly dangerous, and as a cowboy, I shouldn't be able to get hold of them. The most dangerous on sale is in the same class as arsenic and strychnine. It's called aluminium phosphide. It's used mostly in the countryside to gas rats, and it's illegal to sell it to someone untrained like me. We went undercover to test how well the law is being upheld.
Hey, mate.
They should ask to see my ID and proof I know how to use this stuff safely. I visited 8 shops which had it for sale.
Would you have any aluminium phosphide here? Or something like that?
Have you got a licence with you?
No, I don't need to bring it in.
Yeah, if I take it.
Okay, no, that's fair enough.
Here I was turned away. It was the same at another 4.
Have you got some ID, because you have to fill in the poisons register to be allowed to buy it?
But at this shop, it was a different story.
And we've got a real problem with burrows. Have you got any gas or anything, like an aluminium phosphide product?
Here, the salesman asked me lots of questions.
3 kilo, all the price. It's all of the licence, really. I mean, what's your business? Are you
pest controller?
Are you on? You've got licence for it, have you? Use licence that type of thing.
What do you mean, like
operator's licence?
Not with us.
No.
I can't show a licence because I don't have one. He should see some proof I know what I'm doing. He should also ask me to sign a poisons register, but after simply giving a false name and address, he sells it to me anyway. It looks like he's just broken the law.
Well, now I know you're here.
Yeah.
We can drop him. Perfect. Wonderful. You're a star, mate. I appreciate that.
No problem at all, mate.
Thanks, pal. Speak to that. Cheers, man.
Aluminium phosphide is so dangerous we're not allowed to transport it, so we have a pest controller who's qualified to carry it on hand to take it off us.
This is seriously dangerous stuff. Very, very worrying. This stuff, as you can see, it explains everything on here. It's incredibly dangerous to the environment. It's been known in the past to actually kill pest controllers who've not handled it in the right way.
Locked safely out of harm's way, we make one more visit.
£21.37.
Perfect. Can I get 2 of those? Cheers.
Here, fewer questions, and again I simply leave the same false details.
I still have to take all your name and address details anyway because of the
Perfect.
poisons.
No worries.
She too appears to be breaking the law.
Perfect. Wonderful.
In total, we bought this poison from 3 of the 8 shops we visited.
I can't believe it. I just can't. I can't believe it. These people clearly don't realise what this stuff is. Whoever sells this, where we've just been, do not understand the consequences of what this can do. Just one on its own, never mind 2. I mean, it's crazy.
Untrained, unlicensed, and unqualified. There's absolutely no way that someone like me should be getting hold of products as dangerous as this. But after visiting a few shops and answering very few questions, here we are. Tighter regulations will be up and running by the end of next year, to better prevent the unlawful sale of products like these, while many pest controllers want a licensing system introduced to help keep rogue operators out of people's homes.
There's some females in amongst all that, isn't
The pest control industry is an important one, because pest controllers should be our front line of defence against the bugs and rodents which could have a serious impact on public health. But what happens when the pests fight back?
You've always had rats here?
It's always had rats here ever since I've been here and before.
In the countryside, rats come with the territory. But 2 years ago, thousands of them nearly cost farmer David Critz his livelihood here in West Berkshire.
How bad was it at its worst, the rat problem?
There wouldn't have been a building on the farm that we wouldn't have seen a rat in.
Right.
At that time. We were buying poison at a fast rate of knots, and we just weren't killing the rats.
What he didn't know then was that his farm was in the middle of an area where rats had become resistant to the only poisons he's allowed to use.
The lowest point was when I found a family of rats living in the poison bag and living there quite happily. They were eating it and feeding it, and it was just like giving them candy, sweets.
The problem began because of a genetic mutation in a small number of rats, which made them resistant to some poisons, so their population grew.
We've got the world's most resistant rat in this part of the world, and increasingly that resistance is spreading.
Strains of rat resistance have been found in areas stretching from Kent to southwest Scotland. There are 3 stronger poisons David could use, but he's banned by the government from putting them down outdoors because of the risk they pose to wildlife, like this red kite.
The worst case scenario is that these highly resistant rats spread all over the country, and then we'll be in a situation when you can only effectively use these 3 compounds that at the present time you're not allowed to use.
Although their use is controversial, the Health and Safety Executive is launching a consultation about allowing the use of these stronger poisons outdoors. In the meantime, David's had to resort to extreme tactics in his war with rats.
This is a standard 2.2 air rifle. It's an air arms air rifle, so it's running on 12 pounds, and this is a pulsar night scope, which is ideal for the job.
He's hired local pest controllers Stephen and Graham to shoot them.
It's worst. There was a team of 3 guns, and I think the first night it was just over 300 we shot.
In one night?
In one night.
And did that make a dent in the population here?
Not for the first week.
Nothing?
Nothing at all. It's taken a long time to get to where we are now.
But with rats, the battle is never over. Stephen and Graham regularly bring their rifles back to the farm.
There's one. Hold on.
So, resistant rats, rogue pest controllers and council cutbacks, they could all pose a serious risk to public health according to some experts, and they want a battle plan.
There are a number of government departments that have an interest in public health, particularly with regard to pest control. The question is, are they being coordinated in any shape or form? And my view is, no, they're not. We don't know what the numbers are. We don't know whether or not we have the same populations of rodents as we did 20 years ago. That data isn't available. Why not? We ought to be collecting it.
So we try to find out just who is taking the lead on pest control and public health.
The Department of Health said it wasn't something for them, so we went to the Health Protection Agency, who also passed this on. To here, the Department for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, who told us that pest control wasn't really their problem. So they, like the Department of Health, sent us here to the Department for Communities and Local Government. They didn't seem to want to take the lead either. They said pest control is a matter for local councils.
So, with no one seemingly at the helm, And at a time of council cutbacks, it's feared we may have to live with more pests in the future.
If the council can't do anything about it and we can't afford it, we're just going to have to live with it. We're just going to have to go out and bait our traps every night and remove the rats every morning.
As far as public health pests go, they would be out of control. It would take some considerable time, and that's the problem, of course. None of this is measurable quickly. It's going to be a long-term approach. If something's going to happen, it's going to be over 3, 5, perhaps even 10 years.
If you hadn't got the rat problem under control, what kind of impact would it have had on your business?
Well, I wouldn't be in business. It would have taken the business because they would have won. Without a doubt, they would have won.
Next week, the murder that will not go away. 20 years on from his first Panorama investigation into the wrongful conviction of the Cardiff Three, Tom Mangold exposes the continuing battle for justice.
Linking what we eat to how we age, Michael Mosley tests out a new food science. Horizon, next on BBC Two, might just make you healthier.